What's up, everybody? Tim Schaefer here. I wanted to just give an update on the Boards for Brazil project. I know it's been a while. I kind of lost some faith in the YouTube videos because each of them are only getting like 7 or 8 views, so not really too encouraging. But anyway, so I'm down here in Fortaleza, Brazil, at my friend Ivan's house, and been here for about 2 weeks now. So we have a couple of boards here all ready to go. We have 5 sets of trucks and 9 more decks here. That's my board. And I put an order in with our friend Mario here, who he has a company, Infinity Skateboards, and also is runs kind of a little skate shop that has access to the distributors of the trucks and wheels and all the other hard goods and stuff. So we put an order in last week to get 45 whole complete boards, as well as the remainder of the trucks and wheels for these boards and bearings and hardware and all that stuff. So we're waiting for that. Some of the stuff arrived today. I'm waiting for him to bring it over here. And there was also something with, I think with his bank that for a suspicious transaction, because it was several $1,000s worth of stuff, and they just, he had to type up a paper that is explaining what we're doing and that it's all just skateboards and there's no problems or anything weird happening. So yeah, so that's that. And so the shelter that I was able to get in touch with before I came down here is a place called Tia Julia, and it's a shelter for orphan children, ranging from newborn babies to people 31 years old. So we went there the other day, or about a week ago. Myself, Mario, Ivan, and our other buddy Ronaldo. And they've all been really great, helping me out and helping the project come along and translating for me and things like that. So we went to check it out to see how many boards we would be able to give, because I knew before I came that there were several kids there that have some kind of disabilities, motor or cognitive, either way. Yeah, so we went to get kind of a count on how many kids were actually able to use a skateboard there. So it was a pretty tough reality to face going to this shelter, and it's kind of why I haven't posted anything about it. Social media was the last thing on my mind, and taking pictures and videos to post wasn't really a concern for me the first time we went, and I think that you would all understand if you could see the things I saw and hear the stories that I heard. Pretty rough stuff there, and yeah, there's a lot of things that come to my mind with all of that. One being that there's too many people having more kids, and there's a lot of kids that could really use families once again, close to 4 million kids here in Brazil alone, just in Brazil, need families. And so the first room had about 20 kids ranging from various ages, from a couple, 1 year old to 14, 15 years old. And these were all of the disabled kids that, to put it in its most simple form, they cannot even move or talk. They have been in this shelter since the day they were born, and they'll stay there until they die in their beds, in their hospital beds. Pretty tough to see. Really tough stuff, and they are just there, and they can't speak or can't even wave to you, and just kind of stare with open eyes, and some closed, and some, laying in very awkward positions. And that's just what it is for them. So I want to take a moment there to tell you all to please be grateful for every little thing, for the sunny days you get to wake up out of bed, walk down the street, walk to the park, ride a bicycle, ride a skateboard, anything, to talk to your friends, to wave to people, is something these kids will never, ever be able to feel. And they will never understand those simple joys, even your hardest days. My boss is a jerk, I hate my job, all I do is work, and I never have time for fun. Well, there's kids that will never even be able to feel any of that, the goods, the bads. So I'd like to take this moment to tell you all to just be very grateful for everything you have, even if you are paraplegic and you can still move your upper body or still walk and can't move your arms. You have a lot more than these kids in this room, and it was very, very heartbreaking to see, and it's very heartbreaking for me to see, and that is very heartbreaking for me to talk about. But that's why I'm doing this, is to be the voice for the kids who don't have a voice and never will. So after we left that room, we continued on to check the place out, and there was a couple kids, maybe, 4, 5, 6 years old, just hanging out in a little common area, watching some cartoons, and they were all so cute, little angels, and just beautiful kids, and just having fun, hanging out. And down the hall was another room with, I guess, maybe a little bit younger kids, maybe 2, 3 years old, maybe a little bit younger than the other kids, more like a preschool age, something like that. There was one man sitting there with some of the staff, hanging out with the kids, watching them, kind of similar to the kids in the first room I was talking about. He was in a wheelchair and couldn't really speak or wave, but was a little bit, his abilities were a little more than the other kids. So he was able to be in a wheelchair and kind of get pushed around there and whatnot. But this man was 31 years old and had been in this shelter like the others from the time he was born. And once again, that's where he will be until somebody adopts him or until he dies. So there's a lot to be grateful for, and that was pretty tough to see there. Another room was all the newborn kids, all of them less than a year old, tiny little babies, sweet angels. And there was probably 15 or 20 in there, just little babies doing little baby things, and there were one or two of them had, there was like siblings, so the kids that were in the common area, one of the little boys, his little sister was a newborn, and they were both at the shelter there. And there was another, there was another little girl. She had just come in about 3 weeks ago. She was about 4 months old, and was, thankfully, by the grace of all that is good in this universe, she was able to make it into the shelter because her mother had abandoned her and left her to die halfway buried in an anthill. And then when they found her, she was covered in ant bites and ants and crawling all over her. 4 months old. Okay, so she also had, so after they took her into the shelter, they went and picked up her siblings and took her siblings, and they are now in the shelter with her. I think there's at least one sister of hers, maybe two. So, yeah, she's doing well, a sweet little angel, and just sleeping and resting and healing from that traumatic experience. So, yeah, that was kind of what it was like there at this one shelter. There's about 60 kids, about 15 disabled, about 20 orphans. Sorry, not orphans, newborns. They're all orphans. So, yeah, the other ones, we're gonna get some skateboards too, and I bought some coloring books and some crayons, because they don't have anything like that there, just a TV, and that's kind of it, a couple toys and things. So I went ahead and bought some of those things, pretty cheap down here. So but once again, I definitely, part of this whole mission in the first place was to raise awareness for these kids, and that's why I'm sharing this right now and talking about this, because, well, the world has to know, and especially us folks in America,
are very, very fortunate, and you know, everybody dreams to fall in love and get married and have kids of their own, and maybe multiple kids. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. My dad was the youngest of 11 kids, you know? So, and I get the whole thing about, oh, I would consider adoption, but I want my bloodline to continue, and I want that child to be mine, and an image of me. To me, because I used to consider that too. Not that I've ever been married or had a relationship like that, but we all kind of think about those things and think about what we would want if we want kids. Anyone who's been on a dating website, do you want kids? Do you have kids? Whatever, I've thought the same thing about, well, I'd like for it to be my kid and my DNA and my blood, this and that. But I'm very well realizing that that is the most selfish thing we can do at this point, is bring more kids in. And if you want to have a kid to, some people feel like, oh, I was born to be a mother or born to be a father, and all these things, No, if you want to raise a child and show a kid love and give him something that you never had, or that, like, the worst thing you can do right now with the ever-growing population is have another kid when there's millions and millions of kids that already exist that could really, really use a family and the opportunity to have something better, because most of these orphan kids down here won't live past 18 years old. Okay? Think about that. Imagine, I've had friends die at 16 years old, and it's not cool. It's heartbreaking. And to know that there's a million other kids that could be adopted by families, people in America, in other countries, anywhere here, but people are taking that selfish act of, I want it to be my kid, to me is all garbage. And I'm sorry for being brutally honest here, but that is what the goal of this mission is for me, is to raise awareness for these kids. Because if everybody just keeps having their own kids, well, that's cool, good for you, but why not give a kid a chance at a real better life, So basically what I'm saying is, I would love to encourage everybody to adopt children, adopt a kid, whether it's from your own hometown or whether it's in a foreign country. You can do a world of good for someone that otherwise is never gonna know what it's like to have a family's love. And if you want that so bad for your children, it doesn't have to be your child to show love and give a beautiful life to a beautiful life, to a beautiful soul. And these kids did nothing to deserve it. They didn't choose to be. None of us chose to be born here onto this planet. We just were. And we can't control where we were born and families we're born into. But I see so much selfish behavior in people these days. They want the cars, they want the money, they want the freaking giant houses that sit empty half of the year. when there's millions of kids that are gonna die. Okay? So, I'm all for people falling in love, getting married, and having families. But I'm not about bringing more and more and more kids and people into this world when there are millions and millions. Those numbers are real. Millions of kids left for dead. And this is why I haven't posted anything about this thus far, because I have really strong feelings about this now, and I think if everybody that sees this could see what I saw, you would too, and you wouldn't think about bringing another soul into this world, because there's already plenty, and we're supposed to help each other as humans. And how are we helping each other if we just ignore the ones that are already here? We need to make a change here, because this is unacceptable. Leaving kids to die in the dirt is not okay. And you know what? There's something you can do about it. So I want everyone to just take a minute. If you even watched this video, all 7 of you, and be grateful for what you have. And if you want to have a family, if you're getting married or you are married, you're thinking about kids, I'd like to really encourage you to adopt a kid, an orphan kid. It doesn't have to be one of these kids in Brazil. It can be in Chicago or Florida or Arizona, wherever you live. You can do something about this, and you can give a kid the love and affection and life that they deserve, because they didn't ask to be born, and they damn sure didn't ask to be born and left for dead. Nobody deserves that. So, anyway, moving on. That was the experience I had, and I wanted to share that with everybody. So, waiting on the rest of these boards to come in. We're going on the 28th to bring these boards to these kids at Tia Julia, and we have a whole nother 45 completes on the way. And there's a very nice lady who's one of the coordinators at Tia Julia, and she is going to help us get in touch with some other shelters in the area, and we'll be able to distribute all of the boards, no problem. And Jeff is going to be here on New Year's Day for 2 weeks, so we'll visit some shelters with him and distribute some boards. Also, when we bring these boards to Tia Julia, we're going to be doing some skateboard tricks, skating for the kids, and showing them how to use the boards, teaching them about the boards, and opening their minds to some of the possibilities that can be achieved with skateboards. So we're really excited, and it's been difficult to process all this stuff, and that's why it's taken me a few days, a week, to put out anything, because once again, social media was the last thing on my mind. But I've had some time to collect my thoughts myself, and And here I am to raise the awareness I wanted to raise. So I hope you watch this video all the way through, and I hope you'll share it to spread the awareness all around the world, because we're all connected, you know. So I hope you'll share, and so more people can hear this message. And I will be taking some videos and photos with the kids, but once again, it was far from my first concern the first day we went to the shelter. So I will post more. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope I was able to make you think about things and help you realize how grateful you should be for everything you have. So much love from Brazil.